Greetings, welcome to the channel. USA 250th anniversary of independence special. Paleo-Indians first migrated from North Asia to North America at least 15,000 years ago and formed various civilizations. European discovery of the Americas began in 1492. British colonization followed with the 1607 settlement of Virginia, the first of the 13 colonies. Clashes with the British Crown over taxation without parliamentary representation and denial of other English rights evolved into the American Revolution, which led to the July 2nd, 1776 Lee Resolution formally declaring independence from Great Britain. 2 days later, on the 4th of July, the Declaration of Independence was adopted and publicly released. Frank Frazetta art. According to the Indian Appropriation Act of March 3rd, 1871, no longer was any group of Indians in the United States recognized as an independent nation by the federal government. Indigenous people in the United States have lost nearly 99% of the land they historically occupied, according to an unprecedented new dataset. The dataset, the first to quantify land dispossession and forced migration in the United States, also reveals that tribes with land today were systematically forced into less valuable areas, which excluded them from key sectors of the US economy, including the energy market. The Zimmermann telegram. The German Foreign Minister Arthur Zimmermann invited revolution-torn Mexico to join the war as the German Empire's ally against the United States if the United States declared war on the German Empire. In return, the Germans would send Mexico money and help it recover the territories of Texas, New Mexico, and Arizona that Mexico lost during the Mexican-American War 70 years earlier. British intelligence intercepted the telegram and passed the information on to Washington. President Wilson released the Zimmermann note to the public, and Americans saw it as a justification for war. At first, Wilson tried to maintain neutrality while fighting off the submarines by arming American merchant ships with guns powerful enough to sink German submarines on the surface, but useless when the U-boats were underwater. After submarines sank 7 US merchant ships, Wilson finally went to Congress on April 2nd, 1917, calling for a declaration of war on the German Empire, which Congress voted on April 6th. American troops began to arrive in Europe by June 1917, first at a slow rate, but by the summer of 1918 the rate had skyrocketed to 10,000 soldiers arriving each day. Most of the ground fighting for the US took place on the Western Front. At sea, the US Navy would play a key role in the Allied convoy system and in the ongoing battle against German submarines. Over 116,000 American servicemen were lost in the war. The Prohibition era was the period from 1920 to 1933 when the United States prohibited the production, importation, transportation and sale of alcohol. Al Capone, boss of the Chicago outfit from 1925 to 1931, his 7-year reign as a crime boss ended when he was imprisoned at the age of 33. Secret Agent X9, written by Dashiell Hammett and drawn by Alex Raymond. Prior to the outbreak of World War II, some German Americans attempted to create pro-Nazi movements in the US, often bearing swastikas and wearing uniforms. These groups had little to do with Nazi Germany. They lacked support from the wider German American community. During World War II, US Army Air Forces and British Royal Air Force engaged in the area bombardment of German cities and systematically targeted German transportation links and synthetic oil plants. Being invaded from all sides, it became clear that Germany would lose the war. Berlin fell to the Soviets in May 1945, and with Adolf Hitler dead from suicide, the Germans surrendered. Operations in Central Pacific. In preparation for the recapture of the Philippines, the Allies started the Gilbert and Marshall Islands campaign to retake the Gilbert and Marshall Islands from the Japanese in summer 1943. Moving closer to Japan, the US Navy decisively won the Battle of the Philippine Sea, and landing forces captured the Mariana and Palau Islands in summer 1944. The goal was building air bases within range of the new B-29 bomber aimed at Japan's industrial cities. As Japan was able to withstand the devastating incendiary raids and naval blockade despite hundreds of thousands of civilian deaths, President Harry Truman gave the order to drop the only two available atomic bombs, hoping that such sheer force of destruction on a city would break Japanese resolve and end the war. The first bomb was dropped on an industrial city, Hiroshima, on 6th of August 1945. A second bomb was dropped on another industrial city, Nagasaki, on 9th of August. Fearing additional atomic attacks, Japan surrendered on 15th of August 1945. Approximately 140,000 people in Hiroshima and 74,000 in Nagasaki died by the end of 1945 due to the immediate effects of blast, heat, and acute radiation poisoning. Japanese Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba, speaking at the 80th anniversary ceremony in Nagasaki, emphasized the importance of passing down memories of the brutal impact of the harm wrought by the atomic bombings. Golden age of capitalism was a broad period of worldwide economic expansion beginning with the aftermath of World War II and ending with the 1973 oil crisis and following recession. John F. Kennedy, the 35th President of the United States, was assassinated while riding in a presidential motorcade through Dealey Plaza in Dallas, Texas, on Friday, November 22nd, 1963. The Vietnam War from 1955 to 1975 was an armed conflict in Vietnam, Laos, and Cambodia, fought between North Vietnam, Democratic Republic of Vietnam, and South Vietnam, Republic of Vietnam, and their allies. North Vietnam was supported by the Soviet Union and China, while South Vietnam was supported by the United States and other anti-communist nations. Direct US military involvement escalated from 1965 until US forces were withdrawn in 1973. In 1968, Martin Luther King was planning a national occupation of Washington, D.C. to be called the Poor People's Campaign when he was assassinated on April 4th in Memphis, Tennessee. James Earl Ray was convicted of the assassination, though it remains the subject of conspiracy theories. 1970s was trucking's golden era. which ended in the 1980s when deregulation began. Dirty Harry, played by Clint Eastwood in 1971. Terminator, 1984. RoboCop, 1987. 2001. 9/11. 'War in Afghanistan' from 2001 to 2021. American voters choose the leaders. There is instability in the world. Who will captain the ship? Thank you for watching. Be seeing you.